And thank you for joining us for the press conference for the Notre Dame women's basketball head coach Muffet McGraw. Again, if you could please raise your hand and identify yourself, we will bring you a microphone to ask your question. We will go ahead and open it up with questions for Coach McGraw.
Gary Graves, Associated Press. Obviously, with Brianna's injury, that is for some adjustments. But I guess my immediate question is, what was the initial adjustment like for this team, mentally as well as strategically?
I think it was most difficult mentally, for sure. I think she's kind of everybody's favorite player. They have they like her so much and respect her so much. So it was a lot more than just about the game. I think everybody knows what it's like to go through an injury and how devastated she was, a player of her caliber, so important to our team. So I think there was just a lot of things running through everybody's mind when she went down. It was really difficult to kind of get our focus back.
In the days since, how have you kind of tweaked your strategy toward this game?
We have really good guards, and I think that we can still run a lot of the same stuff. We're just going to score in different ways. We probably won't be throwing as many lobs, and that's the biggest thing that changed. I think defensively, she's a huge presence for us defensively, so that's going to force us to make some changes defensively. But offensively, I think we'll still be able to run a lot of the same stuff.
Matt Andrews, Ohio State IMG. Muffet, can you expound on your relationship with Kevin and maybe what you recall from his 6 years with you at Notre Dame?
Yeah, he was a terrific coach. I thought from the first moment that I hired him, I knew that he was going to be really good with guard play. He was a very good teacher of the game, having played the game, understand the game. X and O-wise, I thought he was very proficient. He was somebody that could remain fairly calm in situations on the bench where he could not let the emotion get in the way of what we were trying to do. So I think he always had that sort of presence on the bench for us.
Rick Cantu, the Austin American Statesman. Specifically, which player on your team takes Brianna's spot in the lineup, and the role of that player/position, is it different because of the nature of the injury and so forth?
Yeah, no one can take her place. I mean, she's just a very, very special player. So to lose her, we really need a lot of different people doing different things. So we'll look to our freshmen. We'll look to Coco Nelson. I think between the three of them, try to figure out how many minutes we can get out of each one. And it will clearly be different if the guards are in for Bree than for Coco.
I guess you had alluded to this earlier about your guards and how they can score. I mean, how much does having so much balance throughout your lineup, scoring-wise, kind of mitigate that? I mean, as much as you talk about her being a special player, that you do have depth.
Yeah, not quite as much, but I definitely think our guards are capable of having big nights, any one of them. I think the ones coming off the bench, I think when you look at Jackie Young and Aaron Boley, they're big scorers coming out of high school. They're capable of having big games. You got Enrique and Marina who have already had big games. And then you got Lindsay Allen at the point kind of putting everything together. So I definitely think that our guards coming out of high school, they were the focus. They were the ones that did the scoring. So mentality-wise, it's a very easy step for them to look to score a little bit more.
Speaking of Erin, what has her adjustment been like in this program?
I think she's really gotten comfortable. I think probably it took her maybe till January to really get comfortable. Offensively, I think she figured it out pretty quickly. She's a really smart player who knows how she can get her shots. She knew how she could fit into the offense. She's not had any problems adjusting at the offensive end. I think the difference was just it's a little complicated. I mean, there's a lot to learn. It's difficult for all the freshmen coming in and to see how quickly they can assimilate the pace of the game into what they're doing. Defensively, we probably do a few more things that she didn't do in high school, and that's probably been her biggest adjustment, but she's somebody that really wants to learn and wants to get better and wants to contribute, and whatever you tell her, she's going to go out and try to do it.
Coach Bob Nagel with LaCie Broadcasting. Talk about the fact that this isn't your first rodeo. You've been through this before. Natalie Achanwa a few years ago, similar situation. After all the experience, different teams, different places that you've coached, there has to be a time, 5 or 6 minutes at least, where you realize what happened and then you figure out how to adjust to it. Talk about that transition that goes on and how experience helps you move on to, figuring out what you're going to do.
Well, we have been in this position before, unfortunately, and I think as a coach, it's fun. It's a little challenging. You kind of look and go, how can we retool the offense in a couple of days? What new things can we do? What can we stick with that was working? That we just have different people in different spots. So there's been a lot of meeting, a lot of X and O and with the staff, trying to look at defensively what's our best plan, offensively what's our best plan. I mean, so it's something that you don't expect to have to do in March, but it certainly has been the kind of challenge that you love as a coach.
You mentioned your staff too. You've got 2 coaches that have been head coaches at other places. They've gone through this. Neil Ivey herself had a similar situation with injuries. I mean, so much experience there, and the staff has really been a source of strength for you.
Yeah, they really are. They're terrific. I think they're the best staff in the country. They definitely, I lean on them all the time. And it's great to have that kind of experience in the room when we're looking around and deciding how we're going to approach this game and what's going to be the best way for this team to play.
Coach, this might be the biggest arena that your players have played in. Maybe they've played here before, I don't know. It's the biggest one I've ever been in. Is depth perception an issue with you as a coach? And if so, how do you go about the day before to adjust yourself, acclimate yourself to a place like this?
We did play here last year, and it is a very big arena. We played at Louisville, which is a pretty big arena. We've played in a couple other places. We were in Oklahoma City one year. So I think we've played in some big arenas, but I think it's a little different. So I think when we go out to do our pregame shooting and our practice shooting, I think the guards will be able to adjust to see. It'll be a little different with people back there, but I don't think they'll have any problem adjusting.
When you look at Ohio State, obviously you talk about Kelsey Mitchell, but I mean, what's the hardest thing about trying to slow them down or stop them?
Yeah, she's a special player. She really is phenomenal. She's a lot more fun to watch when you're not sitting on the other bench. She's just so up-tempo, and she can get her shot so many different ways. She's just dangerous in the open court. I think she's obviously the player that makes them go, but she's certainly not their only player. I don't think you can really key on her and leave anybody else because you have so many people capable of scoring. I think maybe the team with the most depth in the NCAA tournament. They're just a really, really solid team at both the guard and post position.
Coach, you played here in this tournament last year in Sweet 16. Have you used that as motivation at all for this team that, back here again and maybe hoping for different results?
Well, we're definitely hoping for different results. I think losing in the round of 16 last year was really disappointing for us. I think it definitely motivated us throughout the year, and was something I think that we didn't talk about a lot during the year, but I think it was in the back of everyone's mind.
What has this winning streak kind of revealed about your team that maybe you were missing before, maybe that maybe you hadn't seen before?
We don't ever talk about that because we've won a lot of games over the last couple of years, so we really try not to get hung up on how many we've won in the past. We were always looking forward to the next game.